Most teams never train this, but it affects performance more than speed, strength, or skill. It's the emotion your athletes are carrying.
Hello, and thank you for joining the Champion Within podcast, your premier go-to spot for unlocking your winning mindset. Whether you're an athlete looking to elevate your game to the next level, a coach leading the charge, an enthusiastic parent cheering from the sidelines, or an educator molding young minds, the Champion Within podcast episodes are packed with value, sharing the tools and strategies to unlock your potential and rise to new heights. Hosted by mentor, coach, and mindset leader Kate McCauley. Let's sit back and enjoy today's episode while discovering your champion within. And now, here's Kate.
Today, I want to talk to you about something that the majority of coaches, teams, parents just aren't talking about. Some think it doesn't even matter, but it is poisoning the performance of individual athletes and teams as a whole group. As coaches, parents, even teammates, we often are focusing on things like effort, discipline, execution, and results. We overanalyze plays. We correct the mechanics. We push conditioning. We add in longer practice times. Please do not think that those things are not important. Of course, we have to put the physical work in, but those extra practice times, more reps, are not going to deal with that silent layer underneath performance that almost never gets addressed. Many athletes don't even realize it themselves. They just know that something feels a little bit off. Coaches say it too. When I talk with a coach and they say, something is missing, they are so talented, there's just something missing here and we're not sure what it is. Athletes will tighten up in these big moments. They're overthinking. They lose their confidence suddenly, like it disappears. They play amazing in practices and then they freeze up in the big competitions. Everyone is asking the same questions. Why can't they just perform? We know that they're capable of it. And the answer is usually emotional. It's the mental side. It is not physical. There's an activity that I do with teams that's pretty quick and it tells me so much. I hand every athlete a Post-it note. Sometimes they ask for more than one. It's nothing fancy, just a couple Post-it notes. Then I ask them a few questions. Number one, what do you need from your biggest fans, your family, before competing? And I just let them write. Some of them fill up that entire Post-it note. Post-it note number two, what do you need from your family after competing? Let them write. Post-it note number three, what do you need from your coaches? Here's the rules. No names, no talking to each other, just honesty. At first, they look really confused. Some start laughing. They're nervous. That's why they're laughing. Some hesitate. Athletes are really used to being told what to do and not asked how they feel or what they want to feel. When they start writing, every single time the room changes and you can just feel it. What shows up on those Post-it notes is not strategy. It's emotion. I do explain to them, we cannot control what other people do. And whatever they write on this Post-it note, I cannot gift that to them. However, I do tell them that we can create systems within ourselves to respond instead of react and let our body calm down and be in a controlled state. So if the people who are there who do love us, let's make sure we emphasize that, those family, friends who are there supporting us, they do love the athlete, but sometimes they're doing things that really stress the athlete out. So when the athletes write this down, you might be expecting that some of them tell me things like more playing time, better drills, more feedback so that I can get better. That hardly ever comes up. Instead, I read things and I read them out loud and I share them. When I get to work with the parents too, in the village mentality talk, I read it to them. The parents usually cry because they're like, what the hell? Am I screwing up my kid? And that's not what it's about. It's to just let them know this is where we are right now, and I'm going to show you where we can go. They write things like this: I need my parents not to talk about mistakes in the car. I need a hug, whether we win or lose. Sometimes they just write the word love. I need my coach to believe in me when I mess up. I need less pressure. I need someone to notice when I'm trying. I need to know I'm more than my performance. Those are just a few things that are on the Post-it notes. These are high-performing athletes, strong, talented, competitive. Underneath all of that, they are carrying emotional weight. They don't know how to say it out loud. They really don't. And they don't want to look weak. So oftentimes, they don't talk about it. The biggest emotion that nobody is talking about, that most of these athletes start to talk about when we get deeper into our workshops, is that they are afraid of disappointing the people they care about the most. You know who those people are? Their teammates, their parents, all the family members that come to the game, the competition, their coaches. That emotion shows up as perfectionism, as hesitation, as overthinking, as spiraling, as venting in the car. I'm not good enough. You just don't get it. It's that word vomit you're hearing. It's playing safe. It's the emotional shutdown. It's the frustration that seems like it's coming out of nowhere. They're not choking. They're protecting relationships. Their brain is trying to keep connection and approval, not just win the game or get the highest score in the competition or beat the record. When approval feels tied to the performance, that pressure skyrockets. What happens in your body when pressure skyrockets? You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out, right? You are going to be breathing in a state of panic, right? Your breath is going to be shallowed. Your heart rate is going to go up. You might even start to feel like your stomach hurts. You maybe get a headache. You are going to feel stressed, right? You can probably feel that right now, even if you are not a high-performing athlete or you never were one. You've been in a situation where you feel pressure. Just pause for a minute. And how does your body react? How do you feel? How do you think in that situation? This matters because performance here, your brain can't fully figure out, is this real? Is this happening? Is this a threat? And then you will not reach peak performance when they feel emotionally unsafe. That's why they're screwing up in the game. You're all coming to me saying, we don't know what's happening. This is what is happening. If an athlete is thinking, what will my coach think? What will my parents say? What if I mess this up again? Do you know that an athlete actually said, I'm going to be grounded after this game because I didn't get as much playing time as her. I didn't score as many points as she did. I thought it was a joke at first when this athlete was saying that. Oh, honey, no, that's not true. And she was nodding her head saying, yes, it was. Now, this is next level. Okay, people? Because that's like, if this is really happening, are you kidding me? You are actually tying this to her performance and her stats. We got a whole nother thing going on here, right? But even if that is not being said, they're perceiving that. Some of these athletes are thinking, if my numbers, if my stats, if we don't win, people who love me, people who are here to see me perform are going to be disappointed. Their brains are shifting into this protection mode. And when you are in protection mode, that peak performance, it is not going to show up. You can't be in protection mode and peak performance at the same time. Let me repeat that. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're in business, if you're in a relationship, you're having a conversation, if you're competing in this sporting event, you cannot be in protection mode and peak performance at the same time. Being at that flow state in a peak performance requires you to feel calm, and freedom. Being free or in the flow state means that you are emotionally safe. You trust yourself. You trust your training. It's not that you're feeling comfortable and everything's all good. No, there's a big difference there. Athletes still do want to be held accountable. They want standards. They want to be pushed. They don't want this to be soft and cushy. Do not take this the wrong way. They need to know my worth doesn't disappear when I struggle. I work with most teams every month. Depending on the way teams work, sometimes it could be twice a month, but most teams, it's typically on a monthly basis, but then they do check in with me for different accountability things with our breath work and our visualization. I know where they're at, what they're thinking about with all the people who are there, what they need from people pre-game, post-game, during the game, from their coaches, all those things we just talked about. A big question now that will come up because I've gotten to know them a little bit. They've learned about breath work and visualization. They're starting to see that they can control their body. Now we have to get to the root. What's going on here? What's still floating around in your brain? I ask this question and give them some time to journal. What's holding you back? This is after the Post-it notes, remember. We're going deeper here. When I ask them what's holding them back from competing at their peak performance, there's usually some silence. Their eyes pop up and they look at me. They think. I can see, the wheels turning in their brains. I know that they're probably thinking, do I actually want to share this? But then they start writing and writing and writing. Some of them literally are flipping those papers over and writing on the whole back of the sheet too and getting another piece of paper. This is where things get real. Athletes start identifying things they've never said before. Fear of making mistakes, comparing themselves to teammates, comparing themselves to other teams, feeling like they're never enough, playing injured physically, emotionally, mentally, carrying expectations that don't even belong to them, overthinking every move. Sometimes people write just one word. Some fill up multiple pages of paper here. Many realize something for the first time. The biggest opponent that they face isn't across the field. It isn't even somebody on another team who's coming into this competition. It's in their own head. When I'm talking with the parents and coaches, because those are the people that come to me to book the workshops, to book the one-on-one coaching sessions with their whole team or individual athletes, this is what they see. They see the behavior. They are not seeing the emotion. They're not trained to see that. What they say to me is, we see lack of confidence. We see this body language issue, missed opportunities. They freeze up. They see frustration. But what they don't realize is underneath that behavior, there is a story. An athlete who looks disengaged may actually be overwhelmed. The athlete who looks cocky and maybe even is saying some things that sounds cocky, they may be deeply insecure. That athlete who is shutting down, she might care more than anybody else on the team. When we only correct the behavior that we see without understanding the emotion behind it, we are accidentally adding more pressure instead of removing that barrier. The next part is so huge. Please turn the volume up if you ever drive an athlete home. Parents, people who love them, I'm talking to you. And as a matter of fact, not even just driving them home. If you drive them to practice, to games, if you are driving athletes anywhere, you need to pay attention. One of the biggest themes that comes up on those Post-it notes, in journaling, in all workshops, is that car ride. Athletes remember every word said after competition. This isn't just years later, it's decades later. When you make a mistake and things don't go well, you don't want someone to overanalyze it. You don't want someone to analyze it at all, right? You need that buffer zone in between. They don't need, nor do they want you to start spouting out all of the statistics. They want connection first. They need that first. Emotionally, this competition already feels like they've been exposed. Everybody just saw it. They know what happened. You do not have to rattle off all of those stats to them. Believe me, they are replaying it. They just put themselves out there publicly. What they need afterwards is grounding, not more evaluation from you. Any type of performance conversation is going to land completely different when the athlete is ready and they feel seen as a person first. Steal this right now from me. If you feel like they want to talk about it and you're not sure, maybe you want to talk about it, use this line. Do you want to vent or do you want some advice? Let them answer. And whatever they tell you, you have to respect that. You know, our athletes, they're actually taught often to be really tough. You got to be tough out there. You got to push through. But being mentally tough is a good thing. I teach it, right? This is exactly what I do. But we have to be careful about how we say these things. It is really important that we're not pushing down and suppressing these emotions. That actually isn't toughness. That's the opposite. We have to teach them how to acknowledge it and navigate through. In sports, in life, in work, tough conversations, you're going to have emotions. You're human. They're human. Understanding these emotions and recognizing them is how they move through and deal with it, control it, get to peak performance. If an athlete never learns how to process that pressure, that the emotions are going to come up, they're not going to disappear. As a matter of fact, it's just going to bubble up, bubble up, bubble up. They're going to explode, right? It's probably happened to you. Maybe not in sports again, maybe not, in this situation like we talked about before. Think about a moment where you didn't deal with it. And eventually it came out, right? It's going to leak out as anxiety, anger, loss of confidence, mental training. It's not about removing these emotions. Sometimes people get confused, like take the pressure away. No, we're not going to take the pressure away. That's crazy. This is about learning how to compete with emotion instead of against it. When your athletes feel that they're heard, this is really powerful. When we do this in a group setting with a team, it's next level. People realize as we're sharing together, I'm not the only one feeling this. Coaches gain insight that they never had before. Like, wow, I had no idea that's what she was thinking. The other athletes feel this sense of relief. They express it often. You can see it happening. Literally, just like we can see that body language when things aren't going well, I see the body language happening when someone else says, when we walk in and we compare ourselves to the other teams and think, we're not as good as them, there are other athletes sitting in that group that are like, oh, their shoulders drop and they're like, yeah, I feel that too. Thank goodness she said it. It takes that one person on the team or maybe a couple people to speak up. And it's that relief. Like, I'm not the only one thinking this. My teammates feel it too. It's not because the problems are disappearing. It's because their internal world was finally acknowledged. The performance improves and it improves quickly. Why do you think this happens? It's because the energy that we spend hiding our emotions, that is freaking exhausting. That energy now becomes available to you to compete. The confidence grows. You see this growth and shift. The pressure, it decreases. Their focus is locked in. It improves. Fear softens. It doesn't disappear. You're still going to feel it, but the connection between the team, that team culture, it strengthens. They start to have fun again. And by the way, participating in sports, in case you forgot, is supposed to be fun. Peak performance in any sport requires not just physical readiness, it is emotional clarity. Athletes are going to perform their best when they know that mistakes are part of it, that growth is part of it, effort is recognized, communication is safe. You can talk about it. You can ask for feedback or ask, can you explain that more to me? That's not disrespectful. It's part of the communication. Identity is bigger than results. When those things exist and they coexist together, These conditions create this atmosphere where athletes will take a risk. They will just move and play freely. They trust themselves. They trust their training. They trust their teammates. They trust their coaches. That is the magic spot where the breakthroughs happens. I get chills when I see it happening and I watch them compete. I'm like, there it is. There it is. They're just flowing in motion and moving. It's pretty impressive when you see it happening. What do championship teams, standout students, and elite companies all have in common? A trained mindset. The Champion Within programs aren't fluff. They're mental performance blueprints that build focus, resilience, confidence, and clarity when it counts. Now is the time to set this up. Not next season, not next quarter, now, when the pressure is real and the habits are forming. Whether you're on the field, the courts, in the classroom, or leading a boardroom, your people need transformation and mindset training. Let's partner. Let's co-create this. Let's build the mindset that fuels the next level. Schedule a quick call. Just go to the show notes after the podcast and use the link. Let's design the exact experience your people need because they already have the talent. Now we build the belief. If you're a coach or a parent, or if you're an athlete, I want you to try this. One simple question to ask this week. What helps you feel most supported before competition? And then just listen. So if you're the coach or the parent, just listen to the response. If you're the athlete, just let your pen flow. Set a timer on your phone, 1 minute. Answer that question. What helps you feel most supported before competition? Then I don't want you to fix, don't defend anything, don't explain. I just want you to listen. And if you're the athlete, I just want you to go back and read what you wrote. You might learn something that changes how they perform or how you perform if you're the athlete. This is going to change how they experience the sport entirely. Every athlete you see competing is 100% carrying something invisible. It might be pressure, it could be expectations. Sometimes it's from other people. Sometimes it's expectations they give themselves. It could be self-doubt, hope, excitement. The question isn't whether emotion exists. The question is whether we're going to create space for it. When athletes feel understood and they can understand themselves, they don't become softer. They become free. They become powerful. They become a threat. When athletes can be in that flow zone where they feel free, they compete at levels that pressure, physical practice alone could never produce. We saw it happen. Go back and look at the Olympics. That's like the greatest example ever, all of those things that happen at the Olympics. I'm going to challenge you that next time you see performance drop, whether it's for yourself, your team, your kids, don't just ask what went wrong. You need to be asking or thinking about what might they be carrying that nobody is seeing. That question and reflection will change everything. If this episode made you think about an athlete, a team, or even your own experience competing, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes the biggest performance breakthrough starts with a conversation no one thought to have. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Champion Within podcast today. You know I'm rooting for you always. I'll see you on Sunday.
Thank you for hanging out with Kate today. And whether you're going to coach, teach, cheer from the sidelines, or hitting the field yourself, remember, mindset is everything. Don't forget to follow the show for the latest episodes, as we all need a little extra motivation, humor, and sanity in our busy lives. Now, go and unleash your champion within you, one step at a time. We're always rooting for you.